Are you awake? Are you going to make it for this? You're going to be good?
I think so. It's going to be a close one. I purposefully drank caffeine. I think, at like 7 p.m., which is pretty wild for me, honestly. Pretty wild for me to be drinking caffeine that late. But I'm ready to go.
Well, that was one of the first things that Gary just asked. He said, the show's starting late. Will Curtis be able to stay awake for the whole show?
Oh, Gary.
Shots
you know
fired.
Me too well. Oh, I don't consider it a shot. I consider it consider it. He's thinking of me. He's like, oh, Curtis needs a sleepy time.
Yeah. And apparently it's my aunt's birthday.
Which is fair. So you know what? Birthday. When you're waking up.
Sorry, I didn't wish you happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Which aunt?
His wife, Deb. I believe he said.
Oh, okay.
He said with my birthday bride, unless he's married to someone else too that I don't know about. So that'd be awkward for this to be the reveal.
Curveball. Yeah. Curveball online.
Sorry if I didn't wish you happy birthday on Facebook. I don't wish anyone happy birthday on Facebook. It's not real life. Even though I do believe in a metaverse.
Cheers.
But that's another topic. Probably a little too deep for this. And we haven't chatted about that offline yet.
Okay, so first and foremost, we have, guys, today's probably going to be mostly a crypto-heavy podcast, okay? We're going to go into some interesting...
Well, I would say, so I Haley asked, are you guys going to talk about this tonight? And I said, yes, probably. And she said, try to keep it dumbed down a little bit because most people, it really flies over their heads. I think of our audience. You guys could keep up. Like if we're talking about this, we're making it up too, smart. To some degree. Like, welcome to the club.
Well, let me give a little like something to hold their attention for a minute here.
Do it.
Did any of you watch the new Dune movie that came out this week? And I know Jordan did, being a avid sci-fi / Trekkie aficionado / geek, I cannot tell you how impressed I was with that movie.
I think
I rarely watch movies more than once.
Really?
And I've already watched it twice.
That's impressive. I have not yet. I do want to, because Haley found out that Jason Momoa was in it and was upset that I didn't tell her. Yeah.
Jason Mimosa.
Mimosa. I think he's great too. And I'd probably date him if he asked. He's pretty hot. Like, but I think it was like Star Trek meets Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings. It was like, it like had that vibe to it. It was kind of slow. Yeah. I'm not going to say like it was just like action packed the whole way through.
It has an artistic
vibe.
But
I love
to it,
the little hint in the end when they look over and they see, the worms off in the distance, and she turns and looks kind of towards the camera, but towards the character and says, there's so much more to come. And I was like, oh, can we have the next movie now?
Yeah.
Like,
so let's put things in perspective a little bit, because Amador made a very, very valid comment. He said that, he said it looked dumb and he tried starting it and he fell asleep. But here's what I'd say about it. It comes from a couple things. One, the movie's based on obviously like a historically significant book, right?
Historically significant.
They made a movie for it.
In my brain, that was like historically accurate for some reason. Like that's what I was hearing. I was like, wait, no, that is, it's 3,000 years in the future.
So they made the book and then they made the movie, right? The movie came out, I think, 1984.
I've never seen it. I've only ever heard it's terrible.
It was, they tried to they tried to make it too artistic at first. Horrible horrible directing, horrible acting, horrible like visual effects, terrible. It's so
84.
bad that
Like,
it's almost fun to watch.
I mean, think about like the first Planet of the Apes. I mean, it was like plastic wrap, gorilla
Yeah,
face. Like,
a little bit worse than it.
yeah,
I'd say probably worse.
I haven't
Probably
seen it,
worse.
so
Yeah.
I can't comment.
Um.
I've just heard it's
Oh,
terrible.
it's terrible. It's
Yeah.
terrible. It's a But the director was the famous what was his name? David Lynch. He was the one
Okay.
that directed the original
So
Dune movie. And
so
David
to
Lynch,
this movie
he's
though,
popular
because
for
Amador fell
a
asleep.
couple things.
Amador, the first half really is pretty slow, but it's like good old fashioned character development. There's a couple things that I saw pointed out that aren't really spoilers, but I wish that they would have. There's a part where you see the drone, the little tiny drone for the first time. They didn't really explain that, and people that had read the book knew what that was. I didn't, but I knew people that had read the book that were in the room, and they were like, they really should have led up to that. It would have been much more impressive, that scene where you first see those seeker drones. Other than that, I mean, I caught on to it. I was like, oh, that's a big deal. Like, but it was.
There was a lot of like little things that were big things in the movie that, unless you've listened to the book or read the book or seen the last movie, which was wildly confusing and horribly made.
So I will say vaguely,
catch on
I don't
that.
know.
But
I don't know if the guy wants this out there. So I'll just say, like, a neighbor friend of my brother's actually made one of the props in the movie and had waited a few years to even see it on the screen. And my brother sent me a screenshot of what it was today. And I was like, were you watching Dune? And
what was it?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Is it good? I was like, yeah, it's really good. He goes, my neighbor made this in this shot and he's waited 2 years to see it. I'll show you. I don't want to reveal it because I don't know if it's supposed to be out there, but I'll show you a picture of it after we're done. And I thought that was really cool. I was like, awesome. Oh my gosh, I knew exactly what it was from the picture. I was like, that's it. That's the thing. Like,
that's amazing. Yeah, I recommend giving it a watch, especially if you're a sci-fi aficionado.
Yeah,
that's all I'd say about that.
Probably not your cup of tea.
Okay, so that was our kind of like important thing to our precedents for the day. But there's a lot of things going on in
but I was going to suggest we start further back than that, because we had this conversation, and these are the parts that most people would know. Tesla. Little thing happened today. Tesla and Hertz announced a partnership together, and Tesla stock shot up an amazing percentage for the stock market. Now, in crypto world, this happens every 3 hours. But in the stock market, 12.5% in a day to close is ridiculous. Like, that is unheard of. Mostly unheard of, except with GameStop and whatnot. But those are like you only see it in memes, right? You don't see a value go whoomp through the AMC. Roof like that. And that was a big deal for the stock market. If you owned it, good on you. Probably would realize some of those profits. I don't know. It's going to stay up there. They have not routinely held up there for a while, so maybe think about that. But with the other thing that happened is that MasterCard introduced a partnership with a company called Bakkt, BAKKT, which I didn't know about until my brother actually alerted me to it, and I was like, well, so I went and looked it up. They went up 250% today because they partnered with MasterCard and are going to be bringing Bitcoin rewards to basically making it available to all of their cardholders.
That's wild. That's a big deal.
Those that don't know, that would be getting, it's like airline miles or whatever. Instead of getting that, you would be getting it in a crypto account that sits there and is like a savings account that you can accrue money on. People who have done this, cards who have done this, I've seen people that they come away after like a year or two with tens of thousands of dollars because they just don't touch it. It's like a savings account and they couldn't get it out of there, and it raised in value. And I think over this next 3-4 years, if someone were to do that, they would have a bigger nest egg than they could probably think is possible with just regular spending.
I feel like it's a pretty big deal also for Hertz. right? For them signing a contract with Tesla, like that's like a lot of people will
That's
specifically
true.
rent a vehicle from Hertz
Did
because they're
theirs go up
excited
today
about
though?
using a Tesla vehicle. Like I wonder what
I didn't
I
see,
know. That's what I was
but I
going
know
to
that
say. I
the
was looking to
S&P
see.
500 set another record today, which to me, it's cool. I really, they've been
Oh, they
down,
went
but
down.
or they go down. I'm
Hertz,
nervous
yeah.
about how this market is propping itself up. I don't,
Inflationary,
maybe,
obviously,
I don't
right?
know. I've heard differing views. Some of them are that the companies were actually making more money than expected, and so with the added cash injected into the system, that it's
That's
going to
interesting.
cause an issue with deflation, which then the banks start to lose money instead of the feds. So they don't like that.
Hmm. Interesting. That'd be interesting. That would be interesting. Also, what's interesting, talking about inflation, deflation, all this sort of stuff. Right now, a lot of people would say the crypto world and the crypto coins are on a bullish state. So they're not necessarily inflammatory, I guess, or there's not
They're
necessarily
not
inflammation, I
parabolic.
guess, or
They're
inflation. Sorry,
moving up.
but it's they're moving up, right? And for the past, we really have a good track record of, I guess, 4 years or so of kind of
Mm-hmm.
consistent trends. Um, we have seen that there's typically towards the end of the year, we see this kind of rise, and then we see a crash. Typically, the beginning ish of the new year, not necessarily like January 1, but
Yeah,
a few
usually
months in,
Bitcoin
typically.
first
So it's
starts to come back down.
yeah, usually coins follow the trend, right? We follow the trend. Bitcoin kind of leads, and then altcoins and stable
It's an
coins follow
altcoin.
afterwards.
I'm just going to ask questions that other people would be asking.
Yeah, yeah. So ulterior coins, basically like the main state, like I guess you would consider. I don't know. I wouldn't consider Bitcoin actually a
No,
stable coin,
it's just the daddy.
but it's one of the main the main coin. So Ethereum and Bitcoin are kind of the two daddy and mommy in the family, right? Not for better or worse. It's just what they are. They're kind of the main platforms. And actually, what's interesting about it, Bitcoin in particular, doesn't actually have as much utility purposes or practical uses at all compared to Ethereum. Like Ethereum is honestly probably the most prominent platform as far as it being
Right.
utilized for other functions
I always tell people to
on
make it
crypto.
easy is that Bitcoin is like digital gold. That's about its utility. If you have
Mm-hmm.
gold, it's good for one thing. It stores value and you can trade it
Right.
for things. But beyond that, it's kind of slow, it's kind of heavy, but it does increase in value. It does increase in
Yeah,
value over
kind of slow,
time
kind of
because it
heavy.
has a finite supply. And Ethereum,
Right.
it would be like investing
Right.
in oil. Everything runs on oil right now. There's not much you're going to do to change that. People say they want to change it, but is it really going to change very quickly? No. And so Ethereum is like oil. And for those that don't know, most
Now with Ethereum, are they continuing to
they
produce
do.
those coins, or are they
But
a
they
finite
are
number?
only very, very, like very seldom. There's not very much supply going out, and it actually will become deflationary over time. That kind of gets into some like craziness of it. But Ethereum was never meant as a store of value. It was always meant as a utility, and
Right.
utilities are built on
Right.
Ethereum. And so Ethereum would be like
Which is
the internet.
fascinating.
Like Netflix isn't the internet, but Netflix
Yes,
runs on the
exactly.
internet. And so if you
Exactly.
don't have the internet, Netflix is largely useless. So there's a lot of utilities that we use all the time. Like we pay with our bank cards, we send our identity, we send a picture, we sign a document. All that stuff uses networks that are very centralized, and Ethereum has a lot of solutions that bring those into a decentralized area that are not controlled by other people, and those systems are built on it. So it's like the rails of
And
things.
part of the way that people make money from Ethereum is obviously you can
Yeah.
own the Ethereum coin, right? But in other ways, like other platforms in particular that have different organizational um, goals, they'll use Ethereum to complete transactions, right? And part of where those companies gain money is when the transactions are completed on the Ethereum network. And certain times of day, sometimes it'll charge you $20 to use the Ethereum network, and other times a day it can charge you $150, depending on how busy the Ethereum network is. Which is why in the future there's people hoping to have other platforms outside of Ethereum that are as efficient and at a much lower price. XRP was one that people were hoping would potentially fill some of that role.
It is a utility. Like it can do a lot of things, but that gets a little more complicated if you look at like wiring money to a different country when you jump types of currency. So say you live in Japan and I want to send you Japanese yen, but I have US dollars. I would use what's called like a remittance payment that would go through a bank. They charge me a fee, and then it comes out the other side as Japanese yen, and that is remittance. And so XRP is a token that was created to have on-demand liquidity that would lower those fees to pennies to basically put US dollars in, spit out the other side Japanese yen, and cut out the middleman that costs upwards of 25% in some cases.
But wasn't it, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it also for the purpose of being able to transfer different types of crypto platforms as well? Like Ethereum for...
Not really. No.
Like,
it was
only for
made as a
XRP versus different...
thing. They do have
currencies.
some other types of utilities, like they have stablecoin abilities. They have the ability to do non-fungible tokens, so like items or IDs and stuff like that. But mostly what they're known for is remittance fees, and they want to be able to do the trillions of dollar transactions between countries. And they've started with some of them.
Well, on that note, guys, and remember, we preface this, we're talking about crypto. We're kind of just also playing around with it. So it's a little bit deeper than what some of you guys are familiar with, but it's also some things you might be interested in. There's another type of coin referred to as a stable coin. Okay. So stable coin, an example of that right now, a current stable coin would be referred to as what's called a USDC coin. And it's pegged, or it's backed specifically by the value of the US dollar. Okay. So if you put, say you have a trading platform that you use, or like everybody's heard of Coinbase, and you put $300 US into Coinbase, that $300 US you could purchase $300 worth of USDC. And so you have 300 USDC. That USDC, depending on the market, like as far as crypto, it's not necessarily going to fluctuate. And that's because it's not really changing value. It's staying consistent with the US dollar. So you don't have to worry about it. That's why it's called a stable coin.
You can actually go and see that company
specifically
burn tokens when people pull out to US dollars. They'll burn, like in the middle of the night, it'd be like 28 million USDC burned at XYZ, and it will tell where it was because someone pulled it out to dollars.
Right.
And they were leveling the network, basically saying, okay, we're back to zero. It's crazy.
Well, what's interesting about this is now, as cryptocurrency becomes more commonplace, centralized governments are starting to be concerned that wealth of those countries are now being exported onto these crypto platforms.
Like El Salvador.
And not being regulated. And they're
like El Salvador.
What was that?
Just as an example.
Like El Salvador, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, exactly. And so in particular, which is interesting to me, the US government is basically, in the SEC, just kind of cleared a pathway for the US government to crack down on specifically stable coins, and not necessarily crack down on, but it allows them significant regulatory monitoring of bank deposits, but also of multiple transactions within those stable coins. So that way they can then see, where are you transferring that money to? Where is this all going? So stable coins in particular, it's a weird kind of concept, but there will be, depending if it's backed by the US dollar, if it's pegged by the US dollar, where they emulate the value of the US dollar, then that coin is going to be much more regulated by the US government, which in some people feel more secure by that. And some people feel less secure by that because they also are concerned by the inflation of the US potential economy as well. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's interesting. I'm not a big fan of it myself, and I think I've said that here before. I don't like the tokenization and knowing exactly where every dollar is spent, because then they can potentially come in the future and say, but we don't want you spending it on this. So say there's like down the road, Netflix makes them mad and they say, yeah, our dollar can't be spent on Netflix anymore. And I mean, now when you have cash, it says this must be accepted for all debts. You know, it has this statement of this is backed by us and this is to be used as value. Well, when all of a sudden you give them the power to say, no, it can't be spent on that. We're kind of where China's at right now, where they can do that and they can get rid of the cash system that we have and say, no, you all carry a phone, so you can use this. It's just like cash. And then they can restrict and they can see where you were. They can be like, well, you were at this place with this person. And then it becomes Minority Report. It gets all these crazy things. And we're already seeing this happen with people who didn't do anything that, and they're able to take away freedoms. And people might say, well, that seems kind of like a long way out there. I'm like, it's not. Like,
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because in the earlier stages of this crypto revolution, or some people say it's a fad, I'll acknowledge that people have, and there are areas that are fads, I think, as well.
When there's 10,000 tokens plus, they're not going to all make it. It's like this is the internet.com boom.
Right. Honestly, and I think eventually there will be common exchanges and currencies that are more popular and have a higher overall market value than Bitcoin eventually. But what's interesting is we're in the opposite place right now, where we have certain coins, certain even stable coins that places aren't accepting right now, right? So we have that kind of opposite situation going on right now, where it's kind of companies trying to decide, like Tesla. For a while, they were accepting Bitcoin as transactionary for purchasing vehicles, right? And as that increases, as companies choose to decide what coins they have security in and have enough market value, then they will begin to accept those as coins. And actually, I think what's going to happen ultimately, and this is something I think is actually pretty, I think this will happen. I think we'll have a stable form platform that has an actual fiscal backing and banking behind it, and it will end up being a stable coin that certain companies will begin accepting as actual currency and transactions. And that currency actually, I think, will probably not necessarily even be pegged to a US dollar, because they'll want, if there's risk of US dollar having change in value, I think they'll want that security in knowing that this money or this stable coin has its value outside of the US as well.
I think the problem there is there's a lot of control lost. Like, there's going to have to be a lot of leadership that changes, because there was even and I don't want to get into like what an NFT is or anything like that, but someone was asked this week to identify if an NFT was a security or not. Now, technically, you could do the Howey test on it. You could figure out, is this a security, whatever. But they wouldn't answer. They said, "What I'm getting the look from the lawyer right now that says I can't answer this question." And so we have a.
And what exactly is a security?
There's a few things that identify it. I don't know a ton about it, but like one is like when it guarantees value. Like when it's like you could buy this and the price could go up. Basically, is it an investment? Because so like oil is a commodity. Could it be an investment? Yes, but it's a consumable item, so it's not tracked as a security, from what I understand. So, but when you
this is what I have here. Security is an asset being sold that is part of a smart contract, representing shares of a small interest.
Yeah, so there's ownership with intent to make profit. Like, and so but they won't identify on certain things. They're still saying like I won't. And so
It's so nebulous.
Why they won't though is because we're living in a system where our Securities and Exchange Commission, and the joke of a guy, Gary Gensler, is saying we don't want to do, because we would rather rule from gaining fines that when we tell people after the fact that they violated it, but they won't give them clarity ahead of time because they make all their money from fees and from punishment and slapping wrists and stuff. And so that needs to be changed before we can get through all that. And I don't think there will be a stable coin that is good until we get to the point where we've changed that system. Will that ever happen? I don't know. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's going to take a complete rewrapping of it. But right now, the last stable coin from the last cycle, we talked about 4-year cycles. The last 4-year cycle ended around 2017, beginning of 2018 for cryptocurrency. And the stable coin that was coming around then was USDT, which is still around. But they were being sued up until like last year. And they got like a huge fine because they were like, well, can you prove that you are backed and that this is a real thing and yada, yada, yada. Well, they don't like stable coins. And I'll tell you the reason right now why they don't like stable coins and why I think no matter what it's pegged to, that stable coins will be attacked. And that is because if it is stable and it can earn APY, that is a direct threat to our banking system, because if you have a better option to use something else than them, most people will start to go that way. Slowly, maybe at first, but then they become obsolete. And this whole MasterCard backed deal is a big deal because it's also saying banks are going to be able to have your accounts kind of alongside of each other. And what did we just pass? We just passed if someone has more than $600 in your account.
Oh, it's kind of sketchy, man.
All of they're like, oh, sure, fine, collect these digital assets, but it's going to be in your same account because you're too dumb to figure out how to hold it on your own. So we'll keep it in the same banking system because we're scared that you're going to not use us anymore. And we get to know if you have $600 or more of it.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's a tricky balance between wanting there to be decentralization, not have government control pertaining to, honestly, the risk of the government. I mean, that's a real factor too, but then also wanting to have the security and the exchangeability within your own currency of your country or state that you live in too. So it's almost like it would work better if both sides just agreed to work together and help each other versus fight each other, because there is a lot of potential gain to both of them benefiting each other. There's a lot of options to benefit each other.
And even like banks. So
yeah, go for it.
And I just thought of this, like I didn't just think of it, but I've thought of it before. What would be the greatest threat to our system right now is companies that come in with a better way and a greater way to invest and grow your wealth and money and have it work for you. And then all of a sudden, like we talked about Tesla, 12.5%, that is like an outstanding day, right? But there are people who are sitting in the crypto markets right now that did their research, that aren't dumb, that have made great decisions and are up 14,000% on the year. And that's not like, and if you were to say that like 10 years ago, you'd be like, well, that's way too good to be true. They won the lottery. I'm like, no. These people have consistently done that. Have they lost money along the way? Absolutely. But have they hedged their decisions and their investments in such a way and learned how to work these new monetary systems before everybody else? Yes, they're not just lucky. They are very brilliant, and they understand the monetary system better than it is now. And if we get to the end of the year and people look back and go, man, if I just put my money into Bitcoin and didn't even touch it 4 years ago, I'd be up 200% on the year, every year on average, without ever messing with it. If I did that 4 years ago, I couldn't get that in the stock market. And as soon as people figure that out, and those companies aren't the investment that they used to be, what does that do to that system? What is the real threat to the system is not the monetary. The real threat to the system is the value shift.
Well, in that situation, in that case, right, then they themselves will have to adapt and then start accepting that alternative coin potentially. It's kind of a little bit like a technology company or like any type of business, really. Like you learn, you adapt, and you grow. And if you don't, society and changing culture and technology will outpace you and eventually
if you were a milk
you.
delivery man, you probably still aren't. Like,
That's actually, you know what? That's a good point. When I first moved to this neighborhood, there was one family that was still getting, this was like 7 years ago. There was one family that was still getting
that's
delivery
great.
of milk. And I was shocked by it. I was like, what? Like,
Oh
I didn't
yeah,
even know that was still a thing,
it's not
right? I
very
didn't even know that was
common.
still a thing. Like, it's not very common. And
Well,
then it
people had
stopped. It
whole
stopped like a year after we
careers
moved here.
where that's what they did.
Whole
They
careers.
didn't
The
milk the
milkman,
cows. They were a delivery person for just milk.
right? And for anybody out there that's listening, can you explain to us, did they just not want to have enough, did they just not have enough storage in the cold storage and stores at that time back in the day? Because I know they had
I think they just didn't.
refrigerators in
We didn't have
stores
the
back in the day.
transport systems that we do today. I mean, now you see the milk trucks that go around and they pasteurize like in mass amounts, and that's a whole other topic.
Oh, you know what also though?
True.
Because it was glass. I think that's also a component. Like they wanted to be able to get probably the glass back. And so if the store was selling the glass, maybe there was
Glass
something
bottles
there.
now,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe not.
But I guess all that to say, industry changes, and I know that some people are still like, "Hey, I think it's magic internet money." Hey, you know what? Maybe it is.
So
Yeah.
is your
My
online
dad
banking
actually
account.
texted me after our thing last week, and he said, "Hey, if you were going to talk about crypto, you could have said it's time to look at it because my dad just bought $5 of Bitcoin." And no offense to my dad, no offense to anyone else listening that's older or anything like that, but there is a rule in the crypto market, and that is when you start getting asked by your elderly family members about Bitcoin and other types of investments like that, start watching because the top is about to be in. because if it's caught on that
Dude,
far, it's probably getting near the top.
Yep. Well, let me tell you this. I parry that, sir. My dad, in the same token, same breath, just this week, started his own Coinbase account and has multiple
That's amazing.
altcoins right now.
No, I was
as well. Which is like, okay.
So
this is a
I want you
big
to keep
change.
talking about that, but my aunt just said our neighbor in Olympia, across from our condo door, she has a milk box and gets delivered milk every week. Still in Olympia, Washington.
That's amazing.
What are they going to do? Bring the cows to you next?
I'm very impressed by that.
Anyway, I'm proud of your dad. I thought it was great
having
too.
milk delivered to you is just one step away.
I won't disclose anything like detail wise about my dad or anything, but he just said, "Hey, what do you think about Ethereum? What do you think about Cardano?" And I was like, "Whoa, that honestly is the first time I've been asked, like, at least very often, when people don't ask just specifically Bitcoin, like." And I think we're coming to that time because people look at Bitcoin and they go, "Gosh, it's $63,000. It's trading at $62,619 right now. That's a lot of money. I can't afford one." And so people out there, you can buy fractions, and that's what's great. You can't buy a fraction of a Tesla share except for, I think, maybe on Robinhood, but you can here, and it's all about percentage.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing with Ethereum in particular, like the price of Ethereum might not ever be as high as Bitcoin. It might surpass it, maybe not, maybe. But the purpose and the value, particularly behind Ethereum, is the utilitarian purpose of it. And as long as it has that utilitarian purpose, which in the foreseeable future, I don't foresee anything overtaking it at this point, especially with the new Ethereum 2 coming out. You're going to see the value of that.
Its market cap
remain
will
high as long as it has that
what Bitcoin is.
Utilitarian.
And for those that don't know, like the market cap
it's
is
market cap.
The average cost of a token with how much there is supply. So market cap would be like how many stocks there are currently, and what it's trading at. That's the market cap. Its market cap will overtake, and if not this next year, probably in 4 years will be higher. Its dollar amount per token will not be, because that would be ridiculous. But just like there is a Shell gas station, there is a BP. Well, not anymore, but you get my point. Arco, whatever. There's going to be other utilitarian markets out there that they will come up and be good investments. And I mean, if I could have invested in just the internet like 20 years ago, that would have been a ridiculous investment.
Which is interesting that never ended up being. Well, I guess there are internet companies, obviously like Wave, SCTC, but they were never IPO'd as far as I'm aware. Maybe Comcast is, I guess. But yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, so on the platform of crypto, was there any other big things you wanted to hit on crypto? I mean, in particular?
No.
Okay.
I'm kind of looking through.
I wanted to bring this up here, and it pertains to a new tax that Yellen.
Janet Yellen.
Let me.
Hey, while you're looking for that, here's a little fun fact about Janet Yellen. Is that during everything that's been going on, when everyone's been locked at home, she's made about $1.7 million in speaking engagements over Zoom. And the people that she is now proposing these taxes that would benefit them the most, like the banks and stuff like that, they're the ones that paid her. So that seems a little bit suspect.
That's
but
insane.
She is wanting to impose an unrealized gains tax. So
that's exactly what we're doing.
I know that's what you were trying to pull up. It was a video of her. It's bananas. Where she's talking about, I would like to be able to tax this. Now, someone might be thinking, what does that mean? Why would that matter to me? Well, say you bought a home and it was $250,000, and next year it was valued at $300,000, and Mr. IRS man comes knocking and says, you made $50,000. That's an unrealized capital gains tax on you. Now you get taxed. What if you own a stock? And you own it. So anyway.
what this original and that's not what currently she's pushing for, but that's what the concern that it would lead to. So no. She specifically said she wants to have unrealized capital gains tax on liquid assets, right? So unrealized capital gains on liquid assets held by, and what she specifically said was billionaires. Okay. She said specifically extremely wealthy individual billionaires. So even if let's just look at this from a perspective of, okay, say you do this to billionaires, right? Because it's going to help the current economy. It's going to provide, however many millions of dollars, probably maybe billions. I don't know. It's going to bring a significant amount of wealth to the federal government.
Not enough.
At the rate they spend, though, right? There's the concern is eventually they'll say, hey, we're going to start here. But you know what? Now, actually, let's bring it down to millionaires. Actually, now let's bring it down to
the truth is,
anybody making
is that when you do that,
now let's bring it down to anything.
It's always a tax. It hurts the little man the most. When you do undue tax, like you could do that and you could say, but they have so much money. I'm like, yeah, you know what? They like their money. Some of them love it more than others. But because of that, they'll do what they can to keep it. They did work for it. And that means that usually you'll feel it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow.
So who the main senator is that's working on the plan right now? Yours truly, Senator Ron Wyden, is the head. He's the head of the Senate Finance Committee, which I didn't know that. But our true and only Oregonian senator
more than us.
is trying to.
Here. Why do people keep voting for him?
Yeah, that's true. He's trying, but just the concept of taxing something that you haven't actually gained wealth on, it's
specifically
it's pretty aggressive.
I believe I could be wrong. We'll see over time. What they're actually coming after is people who are making money in digital assets, because there are people right now that are under the age of 21 that just made millions, tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, and they are completely financially not tied to our monetary system. And they have FU money up the wazoo, and they're not dumb. And they're not dumb. They are very smart. And some of them are moving to Puerto Rico. Some of them, they're doing whatever they want, and they do not like it. They're like, and I don't say this to be like contrarian or like, hey, this is what's going on and you should get on board. I don't care what people do. I'll just tell you what I'm seeing from people is that this is one of the largest and biggest transfers of wealth that we will probably see since the last industrial revolution. We're watching it happen on the internet.
Well, honestly, it's a little bit like, as far as the transferring of wealth, there's similarities to the .com boom of a new platform, a new type of technology, a new way of finding value in different formats is now creating millionaires and maybe billionaires, which is a pretty crazy concept. So that's the main things as far as crypto, guys. I'm glad that you guys were able to hear some of that stuff out.
Well, I want to this will blow someone's mind out there. I don't have the exact figures, but there's a token. And when I say this name, you're going to laugh. Some of you maybe have heard of it. I'm not saying you should go buy it. Not at all. But if you had put $1,000 into Shiba Inu, a joke coin built on a joke coin, in January of this year, and held until today, you would have hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the amount that token jumped in price.
Oh yeah, totally.
It was, I think it's like 14.
Isn't that nuts?
I don't know. It's like 14,000% or something insane.
That's insane.
Investing in Coinbase. You invest on Coinbase. So like you have Goldman Sachs or whatever your platform is, Webull, Robinhood, whatever. There's different stocks on it. Coinbase has different things that you can invest in that are digital assets. So I'm not going to recommend anything live to anybody, but please don't go buy SHIB.
And also we should say this as a standard. None of our comments are financial advice, and we do not recommend anything or against anything. It is a
it's your call, dude. DYOR.
Revolutionary circumstance. It's your call. Yes, do your own research, but these are things that we feel like might be applicable to our situations when we give this advice as well, or these comments, right?
But it's fun to talk about.
So, okay, other interesting things. Coinbase, I would say though, is, in case just to answer your question specifically, Gary, Coinbase. Too late, Amador says.
How many Shiba Inu coins do you own, Amador?
Coinbase is the easiest platform to use as far as beginners, I think, starting out in the crypto world. It's also by far the most governmentally regulated and monitored crypto platform, bar none. Basically, essentially, if you think about Coinbase, 38,000. Coinbase essentially is the government at this point.
So is USDC.
It basically is the government at this point. Yeah, I mean, but it's anything that happens in any way, shape, or form on Coinbase, the government knows all of it at this point.
Just trying to do the math on 38,000 Shiba Inu coins. So you put like $5 in it? Like that's not. I know how much I have, and I have over 1 million.
Yeah.
So like.
Yeah, I bought Shiba Inu when it was like, I don't know. I don't have that much of it either. I would never put
much into it.
But I know that
I would never put
What's
much
that?
into it. Like When someone says put $1,000 into it back
No.
then, you would have had to have been pretty dumb and pretty lucky to have held it until now.
Yeah. To have 38,000, basically that's like 2 cents or something like that. Like,
For those of you that want to do some math
yeah.
on market caps, the token number that's in circulation, well, technically available for Shiba Inu is 4 quadrillion. That's a big number. That's probably more money than's ever been spent in the world to date. That's a lot. So if 4 quadrillion coins hit 1 penny a piece, that would be $10 trillion. So that's half
Insane.
of the GDP of the United States that's estimated usually annually for all companies to make. So like, yeah, that's it. You can't even wrap your, like, even at that point, you're like, what? I don't get it. You're like, you're right. I don't either. That's a ton. That's a big number. Mm-hmm. That's why they did it, to be funny. They're like, everyone can have millions.
I say we hit up some TILs and showers, buddy.
Otherwise, people are gonna be like, "These guys are nuts."
I got 2 TILs, so I'll go first. Today, I learned that Ferruccio Lamborghini was a successful tractor manufacturer and car enthusiast who created the Lamborghini car after Enzo Ferrari refused to entertain Lamborghini's advice on how to make his car better.
Wait, who told me that?
Fascinating. So
I've known that before tonight. Either that or I dreamt this, and that's really weird.
Yeah. Well, I think it might have been on a movie.
Oh, Ford versus Ferrari?
Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. My dad, actually, maybe. I do have a TIL, another second one that I didn't put in there. He called me this week. And it's like a couple of different phone calls I'll get from my dad. I'll divulge, and he'll maybe laugh or ask me why I divulge this later. It's an emergency. So he doesn't tell me for like a week after he hurts himself really bad, if I even find out. Or it's like a tech question, or it's like a random fact. And this week it was random fact call. And he said, I just want you to know that if you're going about 120, it's about, what did he say? He said, I think it's 2 seconds between telephone poles. Like, all right.
That's hilarious.
How fast are you going right now? Just
I love that.
Spitballing.
About $1.20.
About
$1.20. All right. Next TIL. Today I learned children's sleepwear in the United States is required to be flame resistant and self-extinguishing. Really?
Good to know.
Did not know that.
Sleep with children's sleepwear near me if I'm
right?
Like camping or something.
Yeah. Well, that made me wonder, like, well, why don't they make all like sleepwear, like bedding and like, why don't they make everything have to be flame resistant? I mean, how many lives would that save?
True. Probably because it gives you cancer, but only in California.
Well, I mean, and we want our children to get cancer most of all. So
I think
let's
it's funny
put it on
that
them,
only
right?
the state of California tends to recognize cancer. They do.
They do it very aggressively,
just so
too.
You know, this is known to the state of California to cause cancer. Like, just so you know, I'm not in California, so I'm safe.
I don't get cancer. I'm not in California.
Oh, today I learned that in the 60s, the Dutch were so frustrated with the government's monopoly on TV that they built an artificial island in the North Sea to transmit uncensored television. Eventually, the Netherlands legally expanded its maritime claim, and the military raided the island by air.
Whoa.
So that whole adage of
wild.
Just build your own doesn't always work.
Whoa. That's intense, man. That's crazy. All right, showers. All right, guys. Actors start off in commercials playing someone else. But when they've really made it, they return to commercials playing themselves.
Yeah, there's not very many that started out playing themselves. Unless by chance they just like some guy named Jack got the part for a guy named Jack. And he's like, whoa.
Right.
I did it backwards.
Right. It'd be like the Verizon guy. Can you hear me now?
But does he have a name?
Or the Subway guy.
Oh,
the
yeah,
Subway
but he
guy.
like lost a bunch of weight and liked little boys or something. 100-pound cat is much scarier than a 100-pound dog.
Oh my gosh. Probably much stronger too. Yeah, that's a good one. Everything you've ever tasted is actually just electrons.
Yes. My dad corrected me. He said at 100 miles per hour is a little less than 2 seconds between phone poles in Eastern Washington.
It's good to know. I like that it's specifically
it is.
geographically linked as well.
They probably have a different standard for telephone poles.
They have a different standard of telephone poles.
What are we using telephone poles for?
Amen, brother.
That's true.
For electrical lines.
Lifetime warranties really mean the company's lifetime, not yours.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Good point. Touche. Babies.
You're already laughing.
Okay, now this is just, this is a little funky. Babies that are born feet first briefly wear their mothers as hats.
So I saw that when I was like spacing out the notes and stuff.
You're like, are you confident enough to do that?
I think we've done that one before. Yeah.
Oh, really?
I have to go search back through our notes, but I think we have. Flat mooners don't really get that much attention.
That's so true because I've never heard of them. But I love it. I love it. Okay, my last one. You can't really turn your eyes off. You can just cover them up with something, but they still send signals to your brain. I literally thought about this while I was laying in bed last night, and I was like, my eyeballs are still seeing things. Like if someone shined a flashlight while I'm sleeping, I'll still see that flash across my eyes. It might interpret it as a dream, too. But I'd still see it probably.
It's like you can plug. Well, I guess even if you plug your ears, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
QR codes are the opposite of CAPTCHAs. Unreadable to humans, but easily interpreted by machines. Ooh. And then my last one that goes along with what you just said. Is it taking off your glasses to focus on thinking is the human version of lowering graphics to increase speed.
Oh my gosh, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. That's funny.
So people with glasses, they could have a slight advantage over your whole like turning off the eyes thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, guys, we appreciate y'all. We value you and we love your input and we love your thoughts, and it's fun having comments with y'all. Hope you learned a little bit about crypto tonight, and it's a continuing, evolving conversation. If you're more confused,
welcome to the
bring
club.
Up great questions. Welcome to the club. Yeah, seriously. The more you learn, the more you know, the more you need to know. The
less you know.
So, all right, guys.
Oh, good times.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate y'all. We hope you have a fantastic week. We will see y'all soon.
YouTube too. YouTube's been on here for like 3 weeks, and we gained some people over there. So if you want to avoid Facebook,
that's right.
YouTube. Or just wait and listen to us on audio. Like
subscribe. So. Hit the little bell. Hit the little bell.